All right, so welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going to kind of look at what makes a great opening line in literature.
Okay.
We talk about opening lines all the time, and, there's some that stick with you and some that, maybe don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to be looking at the opening line to Charles Dickens's Bleak House.
Okay. Familiar with it.
And I'm going to read it here.
Right.
London. Michaelmas Term lately over, and the Lord Chancellor sitting in Lincoln's Inn Hall. So what do you think?
Well, I mean, right off the bat, it's very, like you said, very Dickensian, very, very, 1850s London.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what are your first impressions just as like, somebody reading this?
I think it does a good job of kind of setting the scene, like throwing us right into this world.
Right.
But I don't know if it's like super memorable.
You know what I mean? I think that you bring up a good point, though, because it does set the scene, but it also kind of sets the scene in a way that only Dickens can, in the sense that he uses very specific terminology here.
Yeah, like Michaelmas Term. I had to look that up.
Yeah, exactly. So Michaelmas Term, right. So this is a period in the English legal calendar.
Oh, okay.
And it runs from, I believe, early October to late December. And Dickens, he would have known this, being very familiar with the legal system, as his father was actually imprisoned for debt. And so he kind of throws you right into that world.
Yeah.
And also, Lord Chancellor, of course, is the highest legal authority in England.
Yeah.
So we get the sense that this story is going to deal with some pretty serious matters. Right?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, right away, it seems like we're going to be dealing with, like, justice and
absolutely.
Power law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think that in terms of establishing setting and theme, it does a good job. But like you said, is it the most memorable?
Is it going to grab you
right
away?
Well, and I think it depends on the reader, right? Some people, I think, if they're not familiar with this kind of terminology, they might be a little put off and be like, okay, well, what is this?
Yeah.
I don't even know what this means.
Right.
But if you're a Dickens fan, you're kind of like, all right, well, let's see where he's going with this.
Yeah. And I mean, he does set up this really interesting contrast, too.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because, like you said, Lord Chancellor, this like very powerful figure.
Yeah.
And then you have the title of the book, Bleak House.
Yeah.
So it's like this juxtaposition of like power and then
bleakness.
Yeah. So it's like, is that intentional?
Yeah. Well, I think with Dickens, you can almost always assume that these things are very intentional.
Okay.
He was a master of his craft.
Right.
So I would say, I think he's kind of hinting that even though we're in this, world of the Lord Chancellor and Lincoln's Inn Hall, that there's something else going on beneath the surface.
Yeah, it's not all sunshine and roses in London.
Exactly.
Right.
Not at all.
So I think, I'm curious to know, like, for our listeners, like, would you keep reading after this opening line?
Right.
Some people, I think it's all about like grabbing a reader right away, and really like pulling them in.
Yeah, I think it depends on what kind of reader you are. But I will say this for Dickens, once he gets going, he really gets going.
Okay.
So even if the first line is not like super exciting, just wait.
Buckle up.
Yeah.
It's going to get good.
You're in for a ride.
Yeah. So I think overall, maybe this opening line isn't the most memorable in the world.
Yeah.
But it definitely does a good job of setting the stage.
It does.
Yeah. And I think, as we talked about, it's not always about being like flashy and,
over the top. Over the top. Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes it's about being subtle and really just kind of like hinting.
Yeah. Planting those seeds.
Planting the seeds.
That will grow throughout the novel.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that, that's something to think about. Like when you are reading a book.
Absolutely.
Pay attention to that opening line.
Yep.
Because it might just give you a clue as to what's to come.
For sure.
And what kind of journey you're going to be taken on.
Exactly.
So, I guess we'll leave it at that.
There you have it.
There you have it.
Another opening line dissected.
Yes. Thank you for listening.
Of course.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
For another deep dive.
All right. Bye.